Hello everybody, it's Proftrof, and as you can see, we are back again with another Dankula video. We haven't watched one in a while. I don't have a reason why, I just forgot, okay? And most of his recent videos have been very long, and as y'all can see, I haven't been doing that many long videos because I just haven't been having that much time, so yeah, let's go.
You know the guy. The one that likes to skip a few showers, doesn't wear deodorant, and generally lives their lives in a little bit of a...
That's a real man! That's a real man. He smell like a man. He a real man.
And if you play Magic the Gathering, you'll know quite a few people like that.
I don't.
And if you don't know anyone like that, then you're the smelly guy.
Damn, bro.
But the subject of today's video isn't someone who didn't wash for a few days or even a few weeks. This guy has gone 60 years without so much as even dipping his toes into clean water.
No. I don't think that's... How is that possible? I heard that if you don't wash after like years and you get dirty enough, you can get infections like skin infections, shit like that. What?
The world's smelliest man. Amu Haji.
Amu Haji? Let's see how he survived.
But before we get started,
yeah,
this video was brought to you by Raycon.
Raycon?
Raycon is shaking
nah, yeah,
the
boy,
industry by offering
Raycon.
premium wireless audio at half...
Okay, I gotta be honest with you. People have been like, yo, there is this video that actually reviews Raycon. At this point, listen, I don't care about wireless headphones. I use these headphones. I use wireless headphones. But I'm kind of curious to see if this Raycon shit is actually good. Like, I've seen 50 million ads of them. So might have to watch that video.
Amu was born around 1941 and lived in Iran in the village of Dejga, located in the Kermanshah province, which bordered Iraq. So you know the good bit of the country. Some have speculated that Amu isn't even his real name, but a nickname in the Farsi language, roughly meaning kind man. Initially, Amu lived a completely normal life. He had friends, he had family, and he even managed to marry during his teenage years. However, many locals have...
completely normal life, marriage during your teenage years. Okay, fair enough.
Reported that Amu had suffered what they describe as emotional setbacks during his childhood. This apparently left him in such a state that when his wife left him when he turned 20, it sent him completely over the edge. He vowed to live a nomadic life in the nearby desert plains, and he developed extreme hydrophobia. Amu would claim that being submerged in water would make him feel sick, and so he would therefore avoid bathing whenever he could. So from that point on, Amu would spend the rest of his days living in the wilderness, scavenging for food and sheltering himself the best he could during the cold nights. His preferred choice of accommodation was digging a massive hole in the ground and lying in it. Basically, he slept in an open grave. Amu would go on to explain that sleeping in the hole meant that he could keep in touch with the reality of life. The man might be crazy,
yes, he
but
is.
He's right. Though Amu never ventured into Gejga, some locals would frequently encounter him on walks in the village's outskirts and eventually began to take pity on him. One day, many of the townsfolk got together and built a brick shack for Amu. They hoped that by building the shack, Amu would maybe at least have some sort of comfortable sleep every night. Though Amu greatly appreciated this display of kindness from the local villagers, he eventually went back to sleeping in his hole.
What? Okay.
Because he said...
What? Bro, just dig a hole in the shack. Come on. 2 for 1, brother. You have a hole, you have a shack. Hole in the shack.
Amu never lived in a house or kept himself clean, surely he at least kept a good diet. I mean, you can't survive for 60 years in a literal wasteland without at least eating properly. Well, Amu had some peculiar tastes. Much like a vulture, Amu never actually hunted for food, but instead found already deceased animals, such as porcupines, hedgehogs, and
Where are we going with
whatever other
this?
dead animals he could find, and eat them.
Raw.
Sometimes the carcasses would already be rotting, but Amu would just eat them anyway.
How is he alive?
Ironically, though he had extreme hydrophobia, Amu always believed that drinking as much water as possible was good for your health. In fact, he would always strive to drink as much as 10 litres a day,
Damn.
which is nearly 5 times the amount recommended by most nutritionists.
I mean, he's in a desert, so
Fellas, remember
he
to
needs
stay
more.
hydrated. Though
Yeah.
going a
And eat
fair
them
bit
corpses.
overboard, at least this was one part of Amu's regime that could be considered as even remotely healthy. Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you? Amu's main source of drinking.
Yeah, I was about to say, this guy's he's a guy that's homeless. I assume he don't got money because he don't work. Where does he get 10 liters from?
Water was from rainstorms, which isn't exactly the cleanest of water to begin with. But what made it all so much worse was that Amu never drank from a glass or a jug or even his hands. He drank from an old rusted oil can. Maybe the trace amounts of oil and rust help wash down rotting carcasses a little
Sure he's
easier.
human?
But a man cannot live on rotting animals alone. No. Everyone has a vice, whether it be drinking alcohol, eating junk food, or having a year-long 420 sesh. As the years went by, Amu became somewhat of a local attraction for many of the young people from the surrounding villages.
Okay.
And after having some fun catch-ups with Amu, the teens would very often give him cigarettes, which was about the only luxury that Amu allowed himself to enjoy. Despite having no money and cigarettes being such a rare treat for him, Amu wasted no time in smoking all of them. He'd often be seen lighting about 3 to 5 cigarettes at a time and smoking them all at once.
My god. It took me a while to realize I was looking at a hand. God damn. Look at how many, what were those called? When you make little wounds to your hands so the skin becomes tougher. Look at how much of that shit he's got. Jesus. He's like a lizard now. Oof.
Once. I mean, I was a chain smoker for a really long time, but I've cut right back now because of the baby. But even just the thought of that makes me feel sick. But when Amu ran out of cigarettes, it would make him pretty sad. Because he loved smoking. But luckily, he found an alternative. Amu would scour the desert wastes looking for fresh animal dung. He would then place the fresh dung in a rusted car exhaust pipe, light it up, and take a big fat rip like a bong. I mean, I'm an amber leaf man.
That sure is a shitty situation, huh?
And myself with the occasional herbal remedy. But this...
Yeah, I don't think that's herbs, brother.
Why?
That's very natural, though.
This is you just going right out of your way to be a smelly bastard. Smoking shite out of a car exhaust.
A rusty car exhaust.
It's still not as cringy as vaping. It would shock you to know that someone who eats rotten hedgehogs, drinks oil water, and smokes literal animal feces doesn't exactly look like they would be on the cover of Vogue magazine. Amu would usually be found wearing rags that were decades old and were completely covered in dust and dirt. In fact,
for a guy that seems to be struggling to find food and shit like that, he seems to have quite a lot of weight on him.
Whenever Amu lay down to take a nap, many passers-by were actually startled because they initially mistook him for a boulder and they would jump whenever they saw him turn over in his sleep. During the winter, Amu always made sure he kept himself warm by wearing an old Iranian combat helmet.
Oh.
And given the history of Iran, I'm pretty sure that it was used for its intended purpose at one point. This isn't to say that Amu took absolutely no pride in his appearance though. He would often inspect his looks by using broken off wing mirrors from cars or simply using the wing mirrors of other people's cars whenever they were parked nearby. And I'm not trying to be mean here, but why bother?
Yeah.
Why bother?
That's probably quite depressing.
Why even bother looking? You know that you look like a shite with teeth. If he ever thought that
I mean, if he did look like that, he'd probably want to smoke himself, right?
his hair or beard were becoming a bit too unkempt, he would trim them.
Wait, if he smoked animal shit, did he also smoke his own shit? Cause... Interesting.
By lighting a stick on fire and singeing off the excess hair. Hair's getting a bit long. Better set my head on fire. Despite being a bit of a recluse, Amu was known to be very friendly to any visitors and passers-by who happened to encounter him. He was very willing for journalists to interview him, and he also permitted visitors to take pictures and videos of him to show how he lived his everyday life. There was only one thing that would make Amu violently angry, however.
Violently angry?
If you ever questioned Amu...
Hey, listen, bro, that's not a man I want to fight. Not because I'm that afraid of losing the fight, but you don't win. Even when you win, you don't win. He smokes shit, bro.
As to why he never bathed, or if you ever told him that he should wash. He would throw a massive temper tantrum and then fall completely silent until you left. From all that we've heard so far, it's obvious that Amu is dealing with some very deep and untreated psychological issues.
Probably.
These have meant that he is unable to properly integrate into normal society, with the isolation ramping up his aversion to bathing. But Amu doesn't see his own life in this way. He believes that living the nomadic lifestyle has brought him freedom and happiness.
Bro, I'm pretty sure nomads washed.
No longer needs to concern himself with the worries associated with the material world. He also believes that covering himself in dirt has allowed him to survive to such a long age and without dealing with serious infections or diseases throughout his life.
That's very weird.
Maybe that's the thing. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. Maybe he was just so smelly that even the germs didn't want to touch him. Though Amu's current lifestyle was brought on by a breakup, he never went full MGTOW. In fact, he uses visits from journalists as his way of advertising himself to the hot singles in his area. Mr. Haji's profile claims that he is a talented survivalist and is looking for someone to share his 2-bedroom hole with. So for any ladies watching, this absolute Chad is available. This stud of the mud.
Stud of the mud.
Can you imagine it? Just picture it. I hope none of you are lactose intolerant.
I mean...
Just weighted myself for my own joke.
Nah.
Though living as a hermit and nobody responding to his dating profile as of yet...
I wonder why.
Amu is never completely on his own. He still has friends and family from Dezhga, and many of the villagers still visit regularly to check up on him. This is probably the reason he is still friendly enough to outsiders and has perhaps prevented a much steeper decline of Amu's mental health. It's been best estimated that Amu hasn't bathed since 1954, and he's sometimes had to fight to keep it that way. Apparently, groups of teenagers from nearby villages would always try to abduct Amu and force him to take a bath.
How do you abduct a man like this as a teenager?
However, he'd always managed to escape his captors and lock himself up in his shack until the coast was clear. And because of all of this, he is officially recognised as the world's smelliest man. refusing to bathe for 67 years. He beat a 35-year record formerly set by an Indian guru called Kailash Singh.
He's got fucking tentacles! What the... Bro... He's got tentacles.
Refused to bathe because he was told by some Indian
Cthulhu.
priests that if he forewent bathing, his wife would eventually give him a son. However, after 3...
Isn't that counterproductive? Because in order to have a son, you need to, you know, have sex with your wife. Well,
decades of trying and his wife giving him 7 daughters, he
Damn.
gave it up and finally took a bath.
You guess on that?
What this proves is that women are smelly. Recent footage from this year indicates that Amu is still alive to this day, with no indication that he's cleaned up his act or changed his dining and smoking habits in any way. It's just very weird that in a time when everyone is fussing about hand sanitizer and face masks because of the thing that I'm not going to talk about because I don't want to get demonetized, you've got this 80-year-old guy that eats rotten animals and smokes literal shite without so much as a cough. So congratulations, Amu Haji, on being the world's smelliest bastard.
Yeah, congratulations, buddy.
It's not exactly a great title.
No, it's not.
But it is a title.
It is.
Nonetheless.
World first, baby.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody subscribe.
Alright. I still find it kind of weird that he hasn't got any infections, like skin disease, like something. I'm pretty sure you can get that shit. But I don't know. Maybe the dude's lucky. Maybe he's got some crazy immune system. I don't know. Seems to be a survivor, so good on him. Anyway, if you want to see more Count Dankula reactions by your boy, playlist is up here. Quick thank you to the YouTube members and Patreons. Thank you all for the support. I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a nice day.